Within the next minutes, we are going to venture into a territory most self-help channels are afraid to touch. We are not just going to talk about loneliness, we are going to dissect it. We will uncover the dark psychological machinery that creates the friendless individual. And by the end of this series, you will possess a map, not to a life of superficial social connections, but to a state of being so self-contained and powerful that the very concept of loneliness transforms. This is not about making friends. This is about understanding the weapon you have become and learning why you were forged in fire to begin with. Let's begin with a story. Not a happy one, but a real one. Imagine a man named Alex. Alex isn't a hermit. He has a job, he functions. But his life is a silent film. His co-workers make plans for Friday night right in front of him, the laughter a distant echo he can't reach. He goes home to an apartment where the only sound is the hum of the refrigerator. His phone is a brick of dead silicon and glass. For years, Alex believed the narrative. He was boring, he was awkward. There was something fundamentally wrong with him that repelled human connection. This story, in its essence, is one of the most relatable tragedies of the modern world. It's a story of believing you are the problem. But what if that belief is the very engine of the isolation? What if the thing you think is your greatest flaw is, in fact, a sophisticated psychological defense mechanism that once saved you? To understand the person with no friends, we must first shatter the illusion of what friendship is supposed to be. From childhood, we are fed a fairy tale. Friendship is presented as a natural, effortless flow between people. You meet, you connect, you bond. It's magic. So when that magic doesn't happen, the immediate crushing conclusion is that you lack the magic. You are the flaw in the recipe. This is the first and most devastating lie we are told. The truth is far darker and more complex. For a significant portion of the population, the ability to form casual, trusting bonds wasn't developed. It was systematically dismantled. It wasn't neglected, it was assassinated. And the assassin usually has a name: trauma. Not always the dramatic, cinematic trauma of abuse or catastrophe. More often, it's the slow, insidious trauma of chronic emotional neglect. It's the parent who was physically present but emotionally absent. It's the childhood where your feelings were consistently dismissed, mocked, or punished. You're too sensitive. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Why can't you be more like your brother? In this environment, a child does not learn that relationships are safe. They learn that their authentic self, their emotional, vulnerable, needy self, is unacceptable. It is a liability. To show that self is to invite pain, rejection, or humiliation. So, the psyche, in its brilliant, desperate attempt to protect the core self, begins to build a fortress. It starts with small walls. You stop talking about your interests when they're mocked. You learn to swallow your tears until you're alone. You become a ghost in your own life, carefully monitoring every word, every gesture, to ensure you don't trigger the disapproval of those around you. This is where the seed of the friendless adult is planted. It's not that you are unlikable, it's that you were trained from a young age to make yourself invisible to avoid the shrapnel of emotional shrapnel. You weren't born isolated. You were trained in the art of social camouflage to such a degree that you eventually forgot how to take the costume off.
This leads us to one of the most critical psychological concepts for understanding this phenomenon: attachment theory. Developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, attachment theory explains how our earliest relationships with caregivers create a blueprint for all future relationships. A child with a secure attachment learns that the world is safe, that people are reliable, and that their needs will be met. They grow into adults who can form healthy, interdependent friendships. But the child who experiences what is known as an anxious or avoidant attachment learns a very different lesson. The anxiously attached child becomes clingy and fearful.
Let me hit you with a historical gut punch. This leads us to one of the most critical psychological concepts for understanding this phenomenon: attachment theory. Developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, attachment theory explains how our earliest relationships with caregivers create a blueprint for all future relationships. A child with a secure attachment learns that the world is safe, that people are reliable, and that their needs will be met. They grow into adults who can form healthy, interdependent friendships. But the child who experiences what is known as an anxious or avoidant attachment learns a very different lesson. The anxiously attached child becomes clingy and fearful, desperate for connection but terrified of abandonment. The avoidantly attached child, and this is the profile of so many chronically lonely adults, learns that dependence is dangerous. They become hyper-self-reliant. They equate needing others with weakness and vulnerability with annihilation. As an adult, this person doesn't just struggle to make friends. They have a deep, subconscious phobia of the entire process. Every potential friendship is not an opportunity for joy, but a minefield of potential betrayal and pain. Their solitude isn't a preference. It's a prison built by their own survival instincts. Now, let's get into the brain itself, because this isn't just psychology, it's biology. A landmark study by researchers at the University of Chicago used fMRI machines to look at the brains of people who reported feeling intensely lonely. What they found was shocking. When these individuals were shown pictures of people in social situations or in danger, the areas of their brain that lit up were the same areas that activate in response to physical threat. Their brains were literally interpreting social opportunity as a mortal danger. Let that sink in. For the chronically lonely person, the thought of reaching out, of making a plan, of being in a group triggers the same primal fear response as facing a predator in the wild. This isn't a choice. This is a neurological reality. Your body is screaming danger when you even think about sending a simple, "Hey, how are you?" text. This is why willpower and positive thinking are utterly useless against deep-seated loneliness. You are trying to fight your own brainstem with a post-it note affirmation. It's a battle you are destined to lose, and it reinforces the belief that you are fundamentally broken. This brings us to another crazy story, a case study that illuminates this internal war. Imagine a woman named Sarah. Sarah was highly successful, a lawyer who commanded courtrooms with ease. Yet outside of work, she had no one. Her colleagues saw a confident, sharp, and slightly intimidating woman. They had no idea that every night she would sit in her car for 20 minutes before driving home, dreading the silence of her apartment. She craved connection, but every time someone tried to get close, a switch would flip inside her. She would become critical, distant, finding tiny flaws in the other person as a reason to pull away. She would sabotage potential friendships before they could even begin. From the outside, it looked like she was just a jerk. But from the inside, she was a terrified child. Her psyche had created a preemptive strike mechanism. It was better to reject others first, to find them wanting, than to risk the unimaginable pain of being the one who was found wanting and then discarded. Her loneliness was not an accident. It was a meticulously curated defense, a scorched earth policy applied to her own social life.
This level of isolation creates a psychological feedback loop so vicious it's almost elegant in its cruelty. It's called the loneliness loop. It starts with a core belief: I am unlovable. This belief creates something known as hypervigilance for social threat. You walk into a room, and your brain isn't looking for signs of acceptance. It's a radar dish scanning for the slightest hint of rejection.
a delayed text, a less enthusiastic than expected greeting, a joke that doesn't land. Your brain seizes on these as definitive proof of your unlovability. This perceived rejection then triggers self-protective behaviors. You become more withdrawn, more defensive, more awkward. You might talk too much about a niche interest, or you might say nothing at all, both of which push people away. And when people inevitably pull away, your brain concludes, "See, I was right all along. I am unlovable." The loop is complete, and it tightens. You have successfully used reality to confirm your deepest, most painful fear. You are both the prisoner and the prison guard. But here is where we pivot from the problem to the beginning of the solution. What if this entire agonizing structure, the fortress, the neurological alarm bells, the self-sabotage, was never about a deficit, but about a different kind of strength, a survival strength? You are not a plant that failed to grow because it was weak. You are a cactus that learned to survive in the desert by growing thorns and storing water deep within itself. The problem isn't the cactus. The problem is that the cactus now finds itself in a rainforest surrounded by lush, water-guzzling plants, and it's being told it's wrong for not being a fern. Your task is not to become a fern. Your task is to understand the unique, powerful biology of the cactus you are, and to find the desert oasis where other cacti are growing. This is the crucial, mind-altering reframe. The pain you feel is not the pain of being broken. It is the pain of a profound disconnection from your authentic self. The person you had to bury in order to survive childhood is still in there, and its loneliness is a signal. It's a homing beacon. It's the part of you that knows, on some deep level, that you were meant for more than this silent, guarded existence. The very fact that you feel this pain so acutely is not a sign of weakness, but a testament to the resilient, vibrant human spirit that still exists beneath the layers of armor. You have spent a lifetime building walls to keep the pain out, but those same walls have also kept your true self imprisoned. The journey out of loneliness, therefore, is not a journey toward other people. It is a journey back to yourself. It is the dangerous, thrilling, and ultimately liberating process of dismantling the fortress, brick by painful brick, to reclaim the territory that is rightfully yours. We have laid the groundwork. We have exposed the lie that you are broken. We have traced the origins of your solitude to ancient survival strategies and seen how your own brain has been weaponized against you. But understanding the prison is only the first step. The real question, the one that holds the key to your liberation, is this: what do you do when the fortress becomes your identity? Now, we will move from diagnosis to action. We will explore the dark psychology of self-reparenting, a process of going back into the memories that forged you and changing their meaning. We will discuss how to rewire that neural alarm system, not with bland positivity, but with targeted psychological practices that feel like hacking your own operating system. And we will reveal the unexpected truth about what kind of connections become possible when you stop trying to make friends and start becoming a person who no longer needs them in the way a drowning man needs a lifeline. The path out of the silent film is waiting.
Now we begin the dangerous and liberating work of dismantling the walls from the inside. This is not about learning small talk or forcing yourself to attend parties. This is about a process so much more profound, it can feel like performing surgery on your own soul. It's called self-reparenting, and it is the key to rewriting the blueprint of your entire relational existence. Let's return to Alex, the man from our first story, living his silent film. For years, Alex tried to solve his loneliness by focusing on the outside. He downloaded the apps. He forced himself to go to bars. He tried to mimic the easy banter of his coworkers. Every attempt felt like a performance, and every failure reinforced the gnawing belief that he was simply a bad actor. He was trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of quicksand. The breakthrough for Alex, the moment everything began to shift, did not happen in a therapist's office or at a social event. It happened in his silent apartment on a Tuesday night. He was watching a documentary about child development, and they showed a clip of a toddler taking a hard fall, then immediately looking toward his mother for a reaction. The narrator explained that the child doesn't know how to feel about the fall until he sees the expression on his mother's face. If she looks alarmed, he cries. If she smiles and encourages him, he gets up and keeps going. In that moment, a lightning bolt struck Alex. He realized he had been that toddler his entire life, perpetually looking toward the faces of others, co-workers, potential friends, strangers, to tell him how to feel about himself. And he was always bracing for the look of alarm, of disapproval, of dismissal. He had been waiting for 30 years for a parental signal that was never going to come. This is the core of self-reparenting. It is the conscious, deliberate act of becoming the nurturing, protective, and encouraging parent to yourself that you never had. It is about internalizing that validating voice so you no longer need to seek it desperately and futilely from the outside world. For someone with a fortress mentality, this feels impossible. Your entire psychological framework is built on the premise that you cannot rely on anyone, including yourself, for emotional support. But you must start. Imagine the child you once were. That child is not gone. It is the very part of you that feels the loneliness, the shame, the fear of rejection. When you feel that familiar wave of social anxiety before sending a text, instead of berating yourself, "Why are you so weak? Just send it," you try something radically different. You pause. You place a hand on your chest, and you speak internally to that scared child. You say, "I know you're scared. I know you're expecting to be rejected. It's okay. I am here with you. We can handle whatever happens." This will feel absurd. It will feel silly. Your cynical fortress mind will scream that this is pathetic self-indulgence. That is the voice of the old guard, terrified of losing its job. Every time you do this, you are not just being kind, you are performing a direct neural override. You are carving a new pathway in your brain, one that associates the feeling of vulnerability with safety and self-compassion, instead of with imminent threat and self-flagellation. This internal work is the non-negotiable foundation. But the brain, as we learned, has its own hardened pathways. We must hack the system. This is where we move from psychology to practical neurobiology. Remember the University of Chicago study that showed the lonely brain lighting up like it was in physical danger? We can't just think our way out of that. We have to trick the brain, to retrain it through experience. This requires a strategy of micro-exposures. You would not throw someone with a phobia of snakes into a pit of vipers. Similarly, you cannot throw a hyper-vigilant, avoidantly attached brain into a crowded party and expect a different result. The goal is not to survive the party. The goal is to rewire the threat response. So you start with exposures so small they seem insignificant. Your mission for a week is not to make a friend. Your mission is to make 1 second of eye contact with a cashier and acknowledge it internally. I did that. I survived. The next mission is to ask a trivial, scripted question. Busy today? The content is irrelevant. The neurological reward is everything. You're proving to your amygdala, the brain's alarm center, that small social gestures do not result in death. You are collecting data points, one tiny interaction at a time, to slowly, patiently dismantle the false equation that connection equals catastrophe. This process will bring you face to face with what psychologists call the core wound. This is the foundational belief, usually formed before the age of 10, that sits at the root of your fortress. For most, it is a variation of, I am unlovable, I am a burden, I am fundamentally wrong, or I am not enough. Your entire adult life has been organized, subconsciously, around protecting this wound from being touched by others. Every act of self-sabotage, every preemptive ejection is a strategy to keep this belief from being confirmed by others. But here is the darkest and most liberating secret. The wound cannot be healed by someone else's love. It can only be healed by your own conscious, repetitive, and courageous acknowledgement. You must become the one who stops running from it. You must, in the silence of your own mind, turn and face it. When you feel the old shame rising, instead of distracting yourself or numbing out, you must sit with it. You must speak to it. Ah, there you are, the belief that I am unlovable. I feel you. I see you. You were formed a long time ago to make sense of a world that felt unsafe, but you are not the truth of who I am now. This is not a one-time event. It is a practice. It is the daily grinding down of a deep psychic scar. Let me tell you a story about a man named Ben to illustrate this transformation. Ben was a classic case of avoidant attachment. He was a brilliant programmer, capable of losing himself in lines of code for days. Human interaction was a messy, inefficient variable he preferred to avoid. He had convinced himself he was a misanthrope, that he simply preferred his own company. But the truth, which he confessed only to a journal, was a bottomless well of loneliness. His breakthrough came when he decided to apply his hacker mindset to his own psyche. He started treating his social anxiety like a bug in his personal code. He began a log. Social experiment number 1. Compliment Maria on her presentation. Predicted outcome: she will look confused and dismiss me. Actual outcome: she smiled and said, "Thanks, Ben," and walked away. No catastrophe logged. He did this dozens of times, collecting data that systematically disproved his brain's catastrophic predictions. But the real shift happened during a team meeting. He proposed an idea, and a colleague immediately shot it down with a dismissive wave. The old wound flared. "See, you're stupid. Your ideas are worthless." The old Ben would have shut down, retreated into silence for the rest of the day. But the new Ben, the one practicing self-reparenting, caught it. Internally, he responded, "That hurt. My inner child feels humiliated. It's okay. I am here." My idea was still valid. He didn't say this out loud. He simply acknowledged the wound and gave himself the validation he needed. And a miraculous thing happened. Because he wasn't spiraling internally, he was able to respond externally with a calm, "I understand your concern, but let me walk you through the data." The colleague, disarmed by his lack of defensiveness, actually listened. This was the moment Ben realized the fortress wasn't just keeping pain out, it was keeping his own power locked in.
This journey inward, this reclamation of your own internal territory, fundamentally changes the calculus of connection. When you begin to fill your own cup, when you become a source of validation and safety for yourself, your need for others transforms. It is no longer a desperate, gaping need, the need of a drowning man for a lifeline. That kind of need is palpable, and it repels people. It puts a pressure on relationships that they are not meant to bear. When you heal the core wound, your desire for connection shifts from a need to a want. It becomes a conscious choice to share the abundance of your own self-contained world with another. This is an utterly different energy. It is confident, calm, and non-needy. It is the energy of a king opening the gates of his fortified city, not to plead for supplies, but to invite others in to share in the prosperity he has already built for himself. You are no longer a cactus desperately trying to be a fern in a rainforest. You have learned to cultivate your own internal oasis, and you begin to attract other creatures, not predators, but fellow travelers who are drawn to the unique and resilient ecosystem you have become. This does not mean you will suddenly become a social butterfly with a packed calendar. The goal was never to become someone you are not. The goal was to become more fully, authentically, and powerfully yourself. The connections you will form from this new place will be fewer, but they will be of an immeasurably higher quality. They will be based on genuine mutual interest and respect, not on the desperate transactional barter of validation. You will find yourself drawn to other people who have also done their inner work, people who possess a similar depth and self-containment. The silence in your life will no longer be a void of loneliness, but a chosen space for contemplation and peace. The life of the person with no friends was never the problem. It was the suffering within that life that was the signal. You have followed the signal back to its source. You have met the wounded child and become the adult they needed. You have rewired your brain from a chamber of horrors into a sanctuary. The fortress is dismantled, not because the world is now safe, but because you have become strong enough to live in it, authentically and unapologetically, on your own terms. The journey out of loneliness was always a journey home, and you have finally arrived.